That's why I put out the DVD raw of my own personal footage, which showed the good times,
Yes.
opposed to the dreary, negative other one, end of the century. And it became the first gold DVD the Ramones ever had, and I delivered it as executive producer. So, I was happy at least to do that. I didn't think it would go gold, but it went gold in 4 countries. So I was very happy for that because it reached a certain amount of people, which is the whole idea, right? Isn't it?
Definitely.
To why we're in this business.
Yes.
So.
It was well reported that Phil Spector, excuse me, was a hard taskmaster to work with.
Not for
and,
me.
And he was such a perfectionist. Do you personally think that all the extra work that Phil put the band through on the end of the century justified the result?
Well, let me start from the beginning. Phil never pulled a gun out on Dee Dee Ramone. Dee Dee was known to exaggerate.
Okay. That was one of my questions, but I was going to skip it.
He was. And the only people allowed in the studio were the Ramones, Ed Stacy, and Larry Levine and Phil. Nobody else was in that studio. I never saw him pull out a gun. Unless maybe I was constipated and had to stay in the bathroom for a half an hour, which I didn't. And that was just all hearsay. And I mean, I hate to say this because when you tell the truth about something, it ruins the whatchamacallit, the fairy tale, or whatever it is,
mythology.
The mythology of it all. And he did have guns, but he didn't point them at any of us. He had a license to carry, but if he accidentally shot one of us, he wouldn't have a band to produce. So Dee Dee's remarks might have been because he felt an animosity towards Phil because they couldn't work together well, and Phil despised Johnny. He didn't like his work ethic. He thought that Johnny was always rushing things, and Phil worked a lot slower than we did. We were hyper people, and each album that we made, we only made in 2.5, 3 weeks. The End of the Century album took 4 to 5 months, probably half a year to make. And that was Phil. Phil was the producer. I wasn't going to question him. I know his track record. And he liked me and Joey. And he liked the fact that I could drink with him and go out to the Sunset Strip and drink in all the bars and have fun, come back the next morning and work again. We were functional. And he liked Joey because he reminded him of a male Ronnie Spector. And, that whole story about him taking Joey and doing a solo album and leaving us and doing a solo thing, that was bullshit too. Because the Ramones had a sound, and that's the sound he wanted to work with. In the studio, we did our basic tracks. And I think Phil made John do the opening chord to Rock and Roll High School just to bust his balls. And he did it I would say about 40 times, 50 times. Not
one chord.
Not 100 times.
Well, okay.
I mean, that's more bullshit. But it came out good. The album, when we heard it, getting back to the original question, when we heard it, it was unusual to make the 2 walls of sound, which was Ramone's sound and his wall of sound. And there was some interesting things in that album. Great songs. Danny Says, Rock and Roll Radio, Rock and Roll High School, Unaffected. Let's see, what was it? Can't Make It on Time. So, and Baby I Love You, obviously, originally done by the Ronettes. And it was good. Does it hold up today? It's funny because when punk fans come up to me, they go, Marky, I liked the album a lot more when it came out. So it was our biggest selling single album compared obviously to our greatest hits. And we were happy that at least it garnered more attention from the masses, which it did. And till this day, well, until Phil went away, I was his friend. I was visit him at his mansion, at his castle, and his Christmas party, and you know, when he was on trial, I was there with him. And where were all his friends? Where were all the people in the court trying to help him, sitting there? I was the only one there with them, you know, and they disbanded him. And I felt that that was horrible, because he was responsible for a lot of their careers. Whether he was guilty or not, at least show some support. Not just on a website or on a blog, be there physically, you know. So, you know, that was it. I mean, one of the people that was there had this blog and said the only two people that really scared her was me and Phil together. And when I walked in through the security gate and asked her where the toilet was, she was just sitting there on a pew. And she goes, oh, I never saw anybody more evil or looking than Marky Ramone. Well, maybe Phil, even though he's 5'4". And he was scarier than his 6'5" bodyguard that was 300 pounds. So then she goes, if Phil and Marky weren't in the music business, they'd be gangsters. Now, come on, you know, I mean, I just met her just to go to the toilet, and did she look at Phil face to face? No, I'm sure she looked at his photos that were ludicrous. And, you know, that was a little dig at me and Phil. But she said that she, you know, went there to scrutinize court cases for 8 years. So I guess that was her, you know, her way of saying what she thought of me and Phil. You know, and that was it. You know.
Strange folk in the world.
Well, you know, you could say anything these days on a blog, and people, a lot of people will believe it, instead of the actual people who were there and observed everything and witnessed everything, like me being in the studio with Phil with the gun story, you know. So I hate to ruin the myth, you know, but the fact is he didn't pull a gun on anybody.